Hi, Jeremy here with MathomBooks doing a review on the best book on writing ever written, in my opinion. Here goes. So the book is called On Writing, a Memoir of the Craft. It's by Stephen King, who you all know about. And this is his book where he talks about how to become a writer. Now, the first thing I want to say is this. Even if you're not a writer, this book is worth reading. The story is told in 4 parts, and it's kind of like a sandwich, because the first section is his story of how he came from, nothing, a very poor, broken family raised by a single mom, all the way up to where, he's obviously a multi-millionaire. And then the very last section is it's a postscript, and he calls it On Living. And he talks about how he was almost killed. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but Stephen King, and this is a number of years ago now, he was run over by a truck when he was doing one of his daily walks in Maine. He literally got run over by a truck, and it almost cost him his life. So he talks about that. So the first and the last section are biographical. And then in the middle is sandwiched is kind of the nuts and bolts of writing, what he calls the toolbox. Stephen King does not treat the reader with kid gloves. He is brutal, and he's brutally honest. And he says, for example, things like, there are bad writers, and if you are a bad writer, he said, there's really not much I can do for you. But I think that's empowering, because he's not, it's not just a touchy-feely, if you spend some time writing, you're going to be a great writer yourself. He's like, no, you got to work hard. And there's some great quotes that come out of this book. I want to share a couple of them with you. If you want to be a writer, you must do 2 things above all else. Read a lot and write a lot. There's no way around it. There's no shortcut that I'm aware of. That is awesome, right? You got to read a lot and you got to write a lot. He's simply telling you straight out, you can't cut corners. If you want to be a writer, you've got to do this hard work. You've got to read all the time. You've got to write all the time. I think that is indispensable knowledge for you guys out there that do want to be writers. If you don't have the time to read, you don't have the time or the tools to write. It's as simple as that. So again, he's just telling it straight out, right? If you're not making time to read, you're not going to be a good writer. So just 4 tips that I want to just mention here really quickly that kind of come out of this book as far as the toolbox part of the book is concerned. One is he talks about and emphasizes routine, doing this every single day. He says you should write every single day. Force yourself to. He makes this great point where he says the muse, people often wait around. They're like, well, I'm not inspired, so I'm not going to write. He says, no. You write, and when you're writing, when you're working hard, then the muse shows up. Then the inspiration shows up. He said, if you're not already writing, he says that inspiration's never going to come. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. Stephen King recommends 1,000 words per day. He says, set that as a goal. Reach your 1,000 words per day at least. He talks about something he calls closing the door. And this is a great piece of advice as well. His concept is this. When you write, do it in a special spot. Close the door. Don't have distractions around. Turn off your cell phone. Leave it outside. Close the door on the world, so to speak, and be in just your spot, your writing spot. He even talks about how music, and this is the 4th point, he says one way to close the door, for him at least, is listening. He listens to loud, like rock music when he's writing. He mentions like Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, and Metallica. And so you can imagine, right, the loud music going, the doors closed, he's in his little office, and he's just writing away, right? He's in his own world. Another great point that comes out of this book is Stephen King talks about how you can learn more from bad writing than you can from good writing. And I'm curious what you guys think about this. Is this true? Because what he says is this. When you read a great piece of literature, so when you read, Wuthering Heights, or when you read Moby Dick, when you read The Color Purple, right? When you read a masterpiece, in other words, he says, it all looks so simple, right? When you're reading Lord of the Rings, you're like, yeah, okay, it's real easy. You just get an elf, you get a dwarf, and you get some guys together, and you go and fight a battle, and cool, you have a great epic fantasy story. But we know that's not the case. And so Stephen King's point is that when you read bad writing, as you're reading it, you're like, that sentence was really unclear. He should have mentioned her first, or he should have, not used so many adjectives right there. He says when you're identifying those problems, you're becoming a better reader and a better writer. And so it's based on that he says you learn more from reading bad writing. That's kind of a scary thing because I don't really like reading bad writing, but what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts down below. If you want to be a writer, you have to read a lot and you have to write a lot. There's no other way around it. There's no shortcut, right? Remember that. You guys, I hope this video was helpful to you. I hope you are interested in reading On Writing, A Memoir of the Craft by Stephen King. It's a fantastic book. I've read it several times, and I hope that you guys take this into your own library and help it make you a better reader and a better writer. It'll definitely give you an appreciation for what goes into a book and these books that we love so much. Thanks you guys for watching. I appreciate it very much. Don't watch TV. If you want to be a writer, don't waste your life sitting on the couch watching TV. Good stuff.